Hello, good day everyone. Welcome to another session of our subject. This is law-related studies, and I hope that you are still learning under our course. Welcome to our class today, and we will continue in our discussion of labor. Okay, nasa labor law na po tayo. And initially, we made preliminaries on the subject. Okay. So, as a form of review, let us look at the illustration that I had here. I hope it can be clearly seen. In session 1, we learned about the landscape of Philippine laws. We learned that there are different branches or categories of law in the Philippines. We have political law, we have labor laws, we have criminal laws, civil, mercantile or commercial, and then we have taxation. Okay? So far, we have already touched this branch when we discuss academic freedom. I know that there are a lot of concepts and topics that we love to discuss here, but because of the limited period of time that is given to us, at the same time, based on our syllabus, we only pick one under this branch, and that is political, or that is academic freedom. Then we jump to another branch, which is labor law. Previously, we have learned that our labor laws in the Philippines are subdivided into three. Okay? We have the labor standards, then we have the social legislation, then we have the labor relations. These are all part of our labor law. Okay? So labor standards speak of that, it refers to the subdivision in labor law which will tackle or discuss about the minimum. Okay? The minimum benefits that should be enjoyed by an employee. The minimum enjoyment, the minimum rights that must be enjoyed by an employee out from his or her employment. Social legislation, here we will be discussing about SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, GSIS, all those social benefits. Social legislation will be the one that will discuss that. Then we have labor relations. Because we believe that due to the constant clash of different or opposing interests between an employee and an employer, there will come a time that the clash will result into a dispute. Okay? There will be a dispute because the employee will no longer settle with the minimum that is set by labor standards. They want more benefits, more wage, more perks. While the employer, on the other hand, the concern is to prevent that from happening because that will be burdensome on his part. And because of these two clashing interests, sometimes a strike will come out, a lockout will come out. Negotiation will happen, bargaining will happen, strikes will happen. Okay? And for these matters, labor relations will be the one to govern all these issues. Okay? This is no longer minimum because the employees will no longer settle with the minimum set by labor standards. They want more, which is the fear of the employer. And that is why they will clash along the way. Because of the clashing, yun nga, strikes will happen, lockouts may happen, bargaining may happen, Okay, negotiation may happen along the way. And again, that will be governed by labor relations. But for our discussion today, we will be focusing here on the first subdivision of labor law, which is the labor standards. Again, this is the floor. Okay? This is the minimum set by law. Okay? But before we formally discuss the labor standards, if you remember previously I told you that you have to determine first whether or not there is an employer-employee relationship. Because after all, there is no such relationship. Then labor laws will not apply. Because for this law to apply, you have to establish that there is really an employer and employee relationship among or between the parties. Once you have established that by the aid of the elements or the tests that we discussed, okay, then we are now ready to discuss further about labor benefits. Okay? You have to establish first, or you have to determine first whether or not he or she is really an employee of the employer. Otherwise, labor laws will not apply. Yes? Okay. So, remember the fourfold test, and out from the four elements, which is the most controlling element. Okay? Remember, we have the power to control. And when you say control here, it is not merely the end to be achieved, the ends to be achieved, because that is very clear in the case of Manila Hotel. That case will tell you that if the person only controls the ends but not the means on how to achieve the ends, then Manila Hotel will come out that he is not an employee, and therefore you cannot run after Manila Hotel for the benefits. But if you establish that the control here is not only the ends but also the means on how to achieve that end, then probably, most probably, there is an employer-employee relationship, such as in the case of LVN Pictures versus Philippine Musicians Guild. Okay? Just review that lecture. Now we are ready to discuss the subdivisions of labor laws. To start with, the labor standards. As I told you, labor standards is that subdivision in labor law that will set the minimum, the floor. And because this is the minimum that must be enjoyed by the employer cannot go lower than that. Okay? That is set by law, and that is the minimum. The employee or the employer cannot go below than what is set. Attorney, kahit ba naawa yung employee, like for example, sinabi ng employer na pwede ba na tag 50 pesos lang sa ang inyuhang sweldo karon kay pandemic man, total wala man kay tagi na trabaho, kaysa naman pahawaon ta mo, babaan na lang sa natin yung sweldo 50 pesos, which is very far from the minimum wage. Now, if the employee will say or will concede, will it be valid? The answer is no. Because again, even if the employee will say yes or will submit to the proposal of the employer, it's still not valid because labor standards is already the minimum. Okay? So, kahit mag-agree pa yung employee, bawal pa rin yan siya kasi nga, you cannot go below the minimum. You cannot negotiate the labor standards because it's already the floor. Okay? So, are we ready? Let us begin with the hours of work. Hours of work, meaning to say, oras ng pagtatrabaho. Okay? Oras ng pagtatrabaho. If you want to read the law, you can just Google it. You type Labor Law of the Philippines, and then you click it. You go to Article 83 of our Labor Code of the Philippines. Article 83 will tell you about the normal hours of work here in our country. The first sentence says, the normal hours of work of any employee shall not exceed 8 hours a day. Let me repeat that. The normal hours of work of any employee shall not exceed 8 hours a day. So, in one calendar day, you as an employee shall not exceed in rendering work to your employer 8 hours because it's already the maximum. But attorney, you informed us a while ago that labor standards speaks of minimum. Why this time you say maximum? Article 83 says shall not exceed 8 hours. And that is beneficial on the part of the employee. Okay? So, yan. Hindi mo pwedeng i-overwork yung tao. Kaya nga, sabi ng batas, pwede mo siyang patrabahuin hanggang 8 oras sa isang araw. You cannot require him to work beyond the 8 hours. Okay? So, yan po, 8 hours. Attorney, pwede bang i-lower ang 8 hours of work per day? The answer is yes. Why? Because with all the more reason that it is beneficial on the part of the employee. Ang sabi lang po ng batas, maximum ang 8 hours. Hindi bawal na gawin mong 6 hours, 4 hours a day. Because again, that will be beneficial on the part of the employee. Okay? So, is working day different from a calendar day? The answer is also yes, they are different. A calendar day commences to run from 12 o'clock midnight and ends by 11:59 in the evening. Gets? By 12 o'clock, that's another calendar day. But a working day, while it consists of 24 hours, it does not necessarily begin with 12 o'clock midnight. Okay? 12 o'clock midnight is only in calendar day, but not in working day. Does not follow. Calendar day or the working day is anong oras ka ba nagtatrabaho? Like for example, you're a teacher and the start of work is 7:40 in the morning. Then that's the start of your working day. 7:40 and ends by 7:39 the next 7:39 in the next following day. That's how you do it. Okay? Because a working day and a calendar day are two different things. While they consist of 24 hours, both of them consist of 24 hours, nagkakaiba sila kung kailan magsisimula. Calendar day starts by 12 o'clock midnight and ends by 11:59 in the evening, while here, it depends on what time you start rendering work. Okay? It consists of 24 hours too, but you don't need and you are not required to consume the entire 24 hours working. Because ang sabi nga ng Article 83, out from that day, you are only required to work 8 hours. Attorney, kailangan ba consecutive? Walang sinabi ang batas. Basta ang sabi niya lang, within that day, dapat nakapagtrabaho ka ng 8 oras. Okay? Walang sinabi dyan na consecutive hours. Okay? So, yan. Kaya pala siguro yung penongs, may break sila ng ganito. Tapos balik naman sila pagkagabi. Well, basta 8 hours in a day. Hindi sinasabing consecutive. Okay? So, yan. Now, this is very challenging. This concept is quite challenging when you work in a 24-hour operation like call centers. Why? Or in a hospital. Because sa isang araw, if you divide that by 8, then there will be 3 shifts. Okay? So mayroong first shift, second shift, at saka third shift. Okay? Now suppose today is August 3. August 3, 2021. Your schedule here is from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. This is the ideal duration of working hour. Makumpleto mo talaga. 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1 is break, then 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. So that's 8 hours. Yan. By the time that you log out, sinabihan ka ng HR na balikan ng 11 o'clock. Okay? Okay, for example, hindi na lang ganito. Hindi na lang 8 to 5. Usually kasi, sa mga 3 shifts set up, meron tayong 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then we have 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Then we have 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Ganyan usually yung shift dyan. First shift, second, third. Now, on August 3, ito yung shift mo. Sinabihan ka ng HR pagdating ng alas 3 na balik ka ng alas 11 ng gabi on that same day, on August 3. Why? Because magsisimula na yung bagong shift mo. Question: how many hours of work, kung bumalik siya, how many hours of work did he render on August 3, 2021? Nakompleto niya yung 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. pero pinabalik siya ng alas 11 on the same date. How many hours of work did he render on that particular day? That's 9 hours. 8 hours, 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock, but pinabalik mo ako ng alas 11 on the same day, then that's that's additional hour on that particular day. Ano ang implication? Did we violate Article 83? The answer is, yeah, you violated Article 83 because ang sabi dyan, shall not exceed 8 hours. You exceeded 8 hours on that particular day. You exceeded 1 hour. So how will we treat the excess hour? How will we treat that? That will be considered as an overtime. Okay, overtime is found in Article 87 of the Labor Code of the Philippines. Now, bawal ba na magtrabaho ng sobra sa 8 oras sa isang araw? Hindi naman. Pero, because Article 83 is saying na dapat sana sa isang araw, 8 oras ka lang magtatrabaho at tinatrabaho ka ng sobra sa 8 oras, ang implication ay may overtime ka. At dahil meron kang overtime, how do we treat the excess hours of working on that particular day? That will be treated by Article 87 of the Labor Code of the Philippines, which provides that work may be performed beyond 8 hours in a working day, provided that the employee is paid for the overtime work and additional compensation equivalent to 25% or 30%. Attorney, bakit merong or? Bakit may 25% or 30%? Magdedepende yan ngayon kung kailan mo ni-render yung overtime mo. Okay? Kung ang overtime mo, generally speaking, if you render an overtime, you will have an overtime pay of 25% on top of your hourly work. So for example, ganito ha, your work, your compensation or your daily compensation is 800 pesos. For example lang ito ha, 800 pesos. Ang question ngayon is, magkano yung oras ko? Kasi ito per day man ito. Per day man. And we are assuming that 800 pesos per day, you are only working for 8 hours. So ang question ko ngayon will be, magkano yung per hour mo? Kung i-convert natin ito ng per hour, magkano kaya? That will be 100 pesos per hour. Kasi 100 times 8 hours, that will be 800 pesos, which constitutes a working day. Okay, or your working hours in that working day. So 100 pesos per hour yung sweldo mo in the example. Ngayon, what if pinatrabaho ka ng higit sa 8 oras? Okay, like for example, in our example kanina, bumalik ka ng alas 11. Okay, so meaning to say, on that particular day, nag 9 hours ka. So you have an additional compensation. Okay, how much will be the additional compensation? Will it be 100 pesos? So meaning to say 900 pesos lang yung makukuha ko? The answer is not. Because apart from the 100 pesos doon sa 11 to 12 mo, dagdagan pa natin siya ng 25%. And that 25% is based on the hourly rate. So, you get your cell phones or you get your calculators. Let us try to compute this. So 100 pesos times 0.25. You have, ang 25% niyan ay 25 pesos. So how much is your overtime pay? Your overtime pay here is 125 pesos. That is on top of your 800 pesos. So magkano yung sweldo mo on that particular day? That will be 800 plus 125 pesos. All in all, you earned 925 pesos on that particular day. Kasi hindi lang simpleng additional 100 pesos. Kasi ang sabi ng Article 87, your regular wage plus at least 25% of the hourly rate. So meaning to say, magkano yung hourly rate mo? 100 pesos per hour. Hindi lang yan yung ibibigay. Magdagdag pa ng 25%. And the 25% will be based on your hourly rate, which is 100 pesos. So that's why we have 25. So 25 plus 100, 125. That is your overtime pay. 125 pesos on top of your regular rate na 800. That is why 925. Pero alam nyo ba na iba yung computation kapag nag-render ka ng overtime during a holiday or during sa rest day mo? Why? Because under Article 87 of the Labor Code, it says na hindi 25% yung computation dyan, kundi 30% of your hourly rate. Sigurado naman tayo na bibigyan ka ng additional compensation dito. Kaya lang, dahil nag-overtime ka during the holiday, okay? Hindi sinabi dito kung anong klaseng holiday, basta during the holiday nag-overtime ka, and or during your rest day. Supposed to be rest day mo eh. Tapos nagtrabaho ka pa. Tapos nag-overtime ka pa talaga. We are just focusing on overtime muna, ha. Okay. Kapag nag-overtime ka during holiday or during your rest day, you erase 25%, you replace it with 30%. Okay. So let's try. So 30% of 100, how much? Pasensya na, hindi ako marunong sa math. Times point 100 100 100 times 0.30, that will be 30 pesos. Okay, so meaning to say, yung overtime pay ko dito hindi 125 kundi 130 pesos. That is on top of my wage. Pero hindi lang ito yung wage mo on that day, because this will also change later on when we talk about holiday pay. Okay? So, focus lang muna tayo sa overtime pay. Basta ganyan ang application yan. 30% or 25% depending on kailan ka nag-render ng overtime pay. Gets? I hope you are learning. Okay? So if you have questions, please feel free to drop your questions or comments sa email ko, Ateneo email ko, or doon sa Diagler chat box natin. Okay? Please do not send your communications with me to my other email, because I will not entertain that. Just use the Adu email. Okay? Now, there is a question here. Like, for example, supposed to be yung trabaho ko 8 to 5. Okay? Supposed to be yan yung trabaho ko. It's almost 8 when I was called by the principal of my son because nangulata siya classmate niya. So I was asked by the teacher and the principal to immediately go to the school to have conference with the other parents and with the teacher and the principal. In short, I was late for work. We ended by 10 o'clock. I arrived in the office by 11 o'clock. So late ako ng ilang oras, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. Kasi 11 akong nakapasok eh. So 3 hours akong late. Pero pumasok pa rin ako. Ngayon, ang nangyari, okay, ganito. Nangyari, kasi na-late ako ng 3 hours. Supposed to be dapat 5 o'clock ako mag-out. Pero dahil na-late ako ng 3 oras, i-offset ko na lang. Or meaning to say, mag-extend na lang ako ng oras. So, instead of going out by 5 o'clock, dahil na-late ako ng 3 oras, so 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 na ako lalabas. Pwede ba yun? Well, kung walang prohibition sa company, then go. Walang problema dyan. If papayag yung employer, walang problema dyan. Okay? So, yan. Question, meron bang overtime? Kasi supposed to be dapat 5 o'clock yung out ko. Pero this time, umalis ako ng office by 8 o'clock in the evening. Meron bang overtime? The answer is wala. Bakit? Kasi kung titingnan mo or i-compute mo yung number of hours of work ko, walang oras pa rin. Okay? So, meaning to say, walang overtime. Do you get it? As long as the employer approves it, or there is no prohibition in the company, then why not? In order for you to cover up with your 3-hour late. Okay, let's change the facts. Nakita ng katrabaho mo yung ginawa mo. Hindi ka sinita ng employer. Kaya one day, nangyari rin yun sa co-worker mo. Pinatawag siya ng principal, pinatawag siya ng teacher, kasi sabunutan yung kanyang anak at saka yung kanyang katabi. Kaya nagkaroon ng conference sa paaralan. Na-late siya ng 3 oras. Sa madaling sabi, alas 11 na siya nakarating ng opisina. Ngayon, dahil birthday niya, sabi niya na, I cannot extend my work for today. Kahit late ako, I cannot extend up until 8. Kasi meron pa akong mga bisita na i-entertain doon sa bahay after work. Sa madaling sabi, by 5 o'clock, umalis siya ng office. Nag-out na siya. Kinabukasan, nag-report siya ng 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning. But what he did this time is, instead of getting out by 5 o'clock, sinabi niya na to cover the 3 hours of late that I had yesterday, mag-e-extend ako ng oras today. So, from 8 o'clock in the morning, mag-out ako ng 8 o'clock in the evening. Question, pwede ba yun? Pwede or hindi? Before we answer that question, the greater question that I want you to answer is this. Yung coworker na nag-birthday, during his birthday, was there, or how many hours of work did he render in the office? Kasi nga, late siya ng 3 hours, 11 na siya nag-report, pero umalis siya ng 5 o'clock. So, ilang oras siya nag-report? 11 to 12. 12 to 1 is break, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. It means to say, on his birthday, he only rendered 5 hours of work. The next day, okay, before we go to the next day, during his birthday, was there a completion of 8 hours? Wala. So in short, undertime ang nangyari. Undertime. Kasi nga, na-late siya ng 3 oras. The next day, ang ginawa niya, 8 o'clock siya pumasok, okay? And dahil 8 o'clock, supposed to be dapat 5 o'clock maglabas na siya. But he decided to extend up to 8 o'clock in the evening to cover the lates that he had the previous day. Was there an overtime? The answer is yes, there was an overtime. And how many hours was the overtime? 3 hours. 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and 7 to 8. Now, can the employer say na hindi ako magbibigay ng overtime because nag-undertime ka man previously sa birthday mo? I-offset na lang natin. Pwede ba yung gawin? Ang sagot ay nasa Article 88 ng Labor Code. It says there, undertime work on any particular day shall not be offset by overtime work on any other day. Meaning to say, hindi pwede. Wala or bawal ang offsetting sa Pilipinas like what happened on the coworker. So meaning to say, undertime ka talaga during your birthday, overtime ka na naman the day after your birthday. So yan. Yan yung computation dyan. Hindi mo pwedeng i-offset. But attorney, it seems na may offsetting na nangyari doon sa first example. Yun. Oo nga. Aaminin ko, meron ng offsetting doon. But the offsetting there happened on the same day. Have you not noticed it? Article 88 is saying, offsetting on any other day. That's the prohibition. Pero hindi sinabi ng Article 88 that offsetting on the same day is also prohibited. Kaya, yung first example natin, pwede talaga yun siya. The second example, the coworker, yun yung bawal under Article 88. Do you get me? Do you have questions? Okay. Now, with the pandemic this time, there is this what we call compressed work week. What do you mean by compressed work week? Ibig sabihin, instead na magtatrabaho kayo ng 5 araw, okay? Ang gagawin na lang natin is magtatrabaho na lang kayo ng 3 araw. But each day for 3 days, hindi lang 8 hours, kundi magti 10 hours tayo. Question, pwede ba yun siya? If you strictly construe Article 88, it seems na hindi pwede. But DOLE is entertaining this concept right now. As to the question of validity, that I do not know whether or not it is really valid. Because if we stick really in Article 88, hindi talaga yan siya pwede. You cannot offset. Overtime is overtime. Kapag sabihin ng employer na total, bulat naman po kayo trabaho by Thursday and Friday, kay imuha naman siyang gidagdag. Walang ganun, hindi yan pwede. Under Article 88. So, if we want to make that compressed work week valid, I suggest that Article 88 should be amended first. Yan. Okay? Now, the next question would be, di ba, working hours. What constitutes working hours? Yan yung magandang tanong. Attorney, kailangan ba na during working hours talagang nagtatrabaho ako na hindi ako pwedeng mag-CR, hindi ako pwedeng magkape, hindi ako pwedeng mag-check sa FB or Instagram or Twitter or email? Talagang nagtatrabaho lang ba talaga dapat? The answer is no. The basis for this is Article 84 of the Labor Code. Sabi dyan, hours work shall include all time during which an employee is required to be on duty or to be at a prescribed workplace. And, letter B, all time during which an employee is suffered or permitted to work. Let's stop there. There are 2 kinds of working hours, or there are 2 components of hours work. Ang una, yung letter A. All time during which an employee is required to be on duty or to be at a prescribed workplace. Ang pangalawa, all time during which an employee is suffered or permitted to work. Let's stop there. The most common concept of hours work or yung working hours ay itong letter B. Okay? Kapag nagtatrabaho ka, talagang oras yan ng pagtatrabaho. Pero alam nyo ba na kahit hindi ka nag-render ng work, kapag ni-require ka ng employer mo to be on that particular place, even if you are not rendering work there, as long as you are there, that's already hours work under paragraph A of Article 84. Okay? So, yan. For example, you are asked to go to the seminar. Yan. That's a prescribed place. Pinapunta ka doon. Kahit hindi ka nagtrabaho, nag-attend ka lang ng seminar, nakinig ka lang sa mga speakers, that's already hours work. Okay? So, yan. So, erase that mindset that you have na kapag hours work, talagang nagtatrabaho ka. Hindi. Kasi that's the traditional one. That's paragraph B of Article 84. But we have paragraph A of Article 84. Even if you are not working, but you are there because you are required to be there. Kahit nanonood ka lang ng Space Jam, wala. That's hours work. And that is compensable. Babayaran yan dapat ng employer. Gets? Okay. So, yan siya. Now, attorney, pwede bang mag-rest period? Pwede bang may coffee break or what during the hours worked? The answer is yes. Pwede. You are allowed to have your bladder break. You are allowed to have some coffee, to check your email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can do that actually. Okay? But, ang sabi ng Article 84, rest periods of short duration during working hours shall be counted as hours work pa rin. So, pwede siya. But how short is the short duration? It should be not exceeding 20 minutes. Huwag sumobra ng 20 minutes. Otherwise, that will no longer be compensable. Okay? So, yan. Mag-CR, mag-check ng email. 20 minutes lang po, maximum. Okay. Napansin ninyo, 8 to 5. 8 to 5 is basically 9 hours. Pero bakit considered pa rin siya na 8 hours? Because you have 12 o'clock to 1, which is what you call the meal period. Attorney, ang meal period ba kailangan 12 o'clock to 1 lang talaga? The answer is no. Pero ang sabi ng Article 85, dapat merong meal period. Article 85. Let's now go to Article 85 of the Labor Code. Subject to such regulations as the Secretary of Labor may prescribe, it shall be the duty of every employer, not employee, but every employer to give his employees not less than 60 minutes time off for their regular meals. So, 60 minutes. Not necessarily na 12 to 1. Basta dapat meron siyang meal period na 1 oras. Okay? Not less than 1 hour. Not less than. Hindi sinabing not more than. Not less than 1 hour. So, minimum of 1 hour. Pwede mong pasobrahan, pero hindi mo pwedeng i-shorten yung 1 hour. Okay? So, kaya yung 12 to 1 sa 8 to 5 duration, hindi natin kinakount kasi that is Article 85. Meal period po yan. Okay? Pero attorney, hindi naman 1 oras kami kumakain. In fact, pwede namin maubos yung meal namin ng just 5 minutes. Well, you can do your Netflix. You can rest. You can chismis. That's part of the meal period. Even if it's not meal actually. But it's still part of your meal break under Article 85. Okay? So, yan. Now, let's go to the last. The last regarding hours of work or hours work. Itong tinatawag nating night shift differential. Have you heard of this night shift differential benefit? It's found in Article 86 of the Labor Code. It says there, every employee shall be paid a night shift differential of not less than 10% of his regular wage for each hour of work performed between 10 o'clock in the evening and 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay? So, kapag nagtrabaho ang empleyado ng alas 10 ng gabi within 10 o'clock in the evening up to 6 o'clock in the morning. So, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, up to 5 to 6. Meron talaga yan siyang night shift differential. And it's a benefit on the part of the employee. Why? Because scientifically, it's not good for you to work during nighttime. Nighttime is supposed to be your sleeping hours. And yet, you are required to work. So that is a hazard on your health. And that is why the law recognizes that. And so, because of your work during the time that you are supposed to rest or you are supposed to sleep, night shift differential should be given to you. as long as you are working within that time frame. 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning. 10 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock in the morning. This is a per hour basis ha. So how much is the additional pay? 10% po. 10%. So balikan natin yun kanina. 100 pesos per hour. Tapos ang night shift differential is 10%. So magkano yung 10% of his regular wage for each hour of work. So 10% of your regular wage, that is 100 pesos. So that will be 10 pesos. Okay? 10 pesos. So may dagdag ka na 10 pesos for night shift differential. Okay? Every hour. Every hour. Ng pagtatrabaho. Meaning to say, hindi lang yan siya 100 pesos. 110 yan siya. Pagpatak ng 10 o'clock hanggang sa 6 o'clock. Yan. So, mag-night shift pa ka. Ganyan po. Did you learn something today? I hope you did. So, the next topic that we will be discussing under labor standards will be holiday pay and rest day. But for now, let us stop here, process everything that I have discussed, compute, raise questions, and understand again the concept. If you have confusions, feel free to contact me. I am open for any concerns. God bless everyone and have a good day.